Welcome to CP Newsroom. I'm Morgan Lee. Today we'll be talking about singles, the church, and the city. I'm joined by Mercedes Brazier. She's the writer of the new series, All My Friends Are Married. Mercedes, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
So I'm wondering if you can tell us a little bit of your own story of coming to New York City and type of the expectations that you had about family and marriage when you arrived.
I came to New York when I was 18 years old, a college student with a film school at NYU. And I think when I came to New York then, you have this dream of New York City. It's a big city, so many possibilities. I was also thinking of being so involved in the arts. I was like, I'm going to be a filmmaker, I'm going to make all these films, meet all these people. So I was just so excited for the diversity of the city.
Absolutely. Do you think in the back of your head you kind of had some assumptions about potentially getting married? And
Oh, of course, because I grew up watching Friends like everybody else and all those shows that mentioned dating in New York City. So I thought the field would be wide open for possibilities. A date every week, who cares? It's New York City. So absolutely.
Did any of those assumptions and beliefs ring true at various points, whether it was in your 20s or throughout the entire scene through college?
I guess a little, but I think as I grew in my faith, I think also as my standards grew, I think those possibilities kind of diminished. I think I was really surprised by just the lack of dating pool in New York City.
Interesting. And so you're saying that there was, as you were becoming more serious with your own Christianity, it seemed like it was harder to find dates and to find people who wanted to be in serious relationships.
Absolutely, yeah. You can meet a lot of great people, a lot of great guys, but when it comes to faith, it was just so wishy-washy. They were so weak. It was just a real, it was a real difference in the dating. Absolutely.
And so have you been able to see some of your friends, have they gone on and gotten married? And when they have they, is it because they've met people in New York, or have all of them returned to the suburbs?
I have such a wide variety of friends. I have, I know a group of friends who, one couple, they met each other on the subway. They were just both standing, listening to this subway musician play. They were the last two people standing, and they met each other. So it was just this weird New York City. So you have those New York City, those pocket stories that you just hold on to, that could be me. And then you have my other group of friends who are we're single and living our life in New York City.
I was going to say, that's one thing that's not really uncommon here, is that there are a lot of individuals who are people who have never been married in their life, who have come here and focused on their careers and maybe not thought as intentionally as those of our peers that have returned to the suburbs about pursuing that.
I think sometimes I cannot look at my Facebook feed because it's so many babies, so many engagements, so many marriages for my friends from back home in Michigan. And I'm like, oh, all right. So, I'm deciding which Starbucks to go to or which restaurant to go to while they're making real serious life decisions.
Do you think, have you had people kind of critique you living in New York City and say well, if you were looking for someone, you should really try and move out to Long Island? Or
no one has said that. I think it's because New York has this allure of 8 million people. It's a lot of people here. It's just surprising how the lack of dating there is, because you would think there'd be so much more happening, or maybe there is for some people, but for me, there's just such a lack of dating.
Well, I also had a conversation last week with a friend, and we talked about how if you start subdividing people, the opposite gender, and then you cut that into 4 million, and then you cut that into people that are your age, and people who are English speakers, and people who have college degrees, the pool can get smaller and smaller.
Yeah, I think it gets smaller as you get older as well. Absolutely.
Which makes it even more difficult.
Yes, yeah. I think to be in your 30s and to be single in New York City, I feel like me and my single friends, we've created kind of this family with ourselves.
Going back to your friends reference.
Yes.
So what have you found with regards to the church either supporting you or not supporting you in your singleness?
I feel like there's a lot of different stories happening within the church now. I feel like finally women are in a place in the church where they're going out, answering their calling. I have so many friends who are just basically on the mission fields in foreign countries, just living the life, unmarried. And they're like, hey, if a husband comes, but I'm just going to answer my call. I think the church is just catching up to this wave of women going out and going after things. I think on one hand, there was a season where, as I said, the whole industry has been built on the insecurities of single women. So there's so many conferences about what we must do and what we have to do in order to be better, in order to get a husband.
Do you think that's helpful? Do you think that's hurtful? I mean, do you think there needs to be more potentially support for supporting people in the life choices that they've made and where they're at, rather than kind of potentially making them feel as if life still isn't complete.
I think absolutely. I know once I was at a conference that basically the pastor said that basically we were single because we did not make our beds up every day. And I was like, oh, I just need to make up my bed, and then a husband would come. All right, I mean, fine. I'll do it. I'll make up my bed. So I think that sometimes in the back of a single woman's mind is if there's anything that we're doing that's hindering that chance of finding that potential mate, we will fix it. We will correct it. I think in one hand, I feel like that's kind of detrimental to the single woman. I always say there's nothing wrong with us. You know, we are going out and answering our call of God and loving Christ, and just answering and just going for it. And there's nothing really missing. There's really nothing really lacking. And I think also like the gospel, he didn't die for us to have a husband. You know, the truth. So I think it's just about just going after the call that you have on your life. And I feel like the church is just now answering that and just allowing that. It's no longer like the single woman's the weird spinster anymore who's in the corner.
What is your own message that you would like to tell other single women out there?
Oh, I think it's just to dream and to go after those dreams and to have fun. And I think something that we talk about in the web series is just this. I feel like in your 30s, you get this place where you thought you was going to be a certain place in your life, and then you realize you're not at that place, either if it's professional-wise, family-wise, like so many different areas. And I think we just explore that gray area of who we want to be and who we are.
Definitely, and I feel like that perspective in many ways is not limited to one's like marital status. That's something that just everyone is going to have to reconcile and work through in their own life.
Yeah, that's really good.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Mercedes.
Thanks for having me. It's so much fun.
For CP Newsroom, I'm Morgan Lee, and we'll see you next time.